Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Board of Commissioners January 29th business meeting. Since we have all the same people here, or we said the Pledge of Allegiance at our reorganization meeting, so we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
We gotta stand. Wait, now. You gotta stand if we're gonna do it.
Let's stand. Come on. Let's do it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we did it. We might as well do it right. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming. We're going to start off. This should go rather quickly. We're going to start off with department reports. First item on the agenda is our administration report. Manager Hoffman.
All right, I've got several updates that are grant related, but I will be quick for you. So the first one that I wanted to report on, we received word last week that we were successful with our DCED MTF application, which will receive funding to do the full engineering for improvement at the Huntington Pike, Red Lion, and Fetters Mill intersection. So that was one of the goals that the board had set. Geez, we did a meeting with Bowman staff here in the summer several years ago, but it's just slowly moving those things along. So that will give us all of the engineering dollars necessary to then use that design to seek future construction grants. Next one is on the Montco Forever Green grant. We have now completed all of the extra administrative items. So we received the final grant agreement today. We have recorded the declaration of restriction that keeps that land at 2560 Fetters Mill as open space forever. We have already received the funds from the county and from the donor as well. So next steps, a couple of weeks back, Steve and I had visited the property just to kind of make an assessment of the scale of debris removal and what to do with the improvements that are existing there, and try to start building out a plan of what we may need to do. So I think we'll get together shortly with Commissioner Housen and the donor and try to build out a plan that we can then bring to this board to see if we do have any funding considerations on the township side of things moving ahead. But very excited to have that one complete. Next is that we will be applying for a PennDOT MTF grant in this upcoming round that is due in February. As we make our way through the fire rescue station planning process, one of the things that is in your consideration, regardless of where the firehouse takes access from, PennDOT will require improvements on Huntington Pike. That is a cost that is beyond anything that we had. Like, we know it's been a project cost, but was not part of the initial estimates. So we are seeking funds to offset the entirety of that construction cost so that we can remove that from the total budget. So that grant application will be submitted on our behalf by Bowman based off of the preliminary design work that we've been doing there over the last few months. And finally, we also received our grant agreement today. It was a busy day for grants from DCED for the local share account grant that we received towards the purchase of the ANC parcel. Frustratingly, they gave us a partial grant award, which does not allow us to amicably settle that with ANC. However, I've talked with the chair of their real estate committee, and we are both kind of lockstep on the same page as what makes sense procedurally. So based off of the board's prior authorization, our staff is proceeding with the declaration of taking, so that our goal would be to utilize the grant funds to offset the public investment in that acquisition. It will give ANC the chance to request a hearing with the Board of View if they would like to put on testimony as to why they think the valuation should be higher. And then the end result of that will ultimately be what we pay for that property. But strategically, just what made sense for us there to try to protect, utilize the grant to offset our otherwise local investment. That was the procedure that made sense, and that was what was agreeable with the ANC folks. So those are the 4 updates that I have on grant related projects. Great work.
Thank you so much, Manager Hoffman. And could you just go over, Manager Hoffman, that actually just the FR planning, because we kind of just touch base on it a little bit while we're
sure. Obviously, in the context of the board's prior discussion, I was not going to participate in that, but do want it to be very clear to the 6 of you and to everyone in this room. I have tried to share with you and be pretty clear as to how we're moving this along. And obviously, it's a lot of coordination of different stakeholders who have different interests, but ultimately a shared goal at the end of this, which is how we're going to provide fire and EMS services. So through the month of November, we had worked in conjunction with Bernathen Borough on the draft of a consolidation agreement. And of that, there's two separate agreements. The township and the borough are parties to each. And one agreement is with Huntington Valley, one agreement is with Bernathen Fire Company. Once we were able to reach consensus on the contents of those agreements, I then shared them at the end of December with the leadership of both Huntington Valley Fire Company and Bernathen Fire Company. I received comments from Bernathen Fire Company over the weekend. So I have kind of done an initial pass through those. Most of their comments are things that we may have missed just on the kind of the drafting committee level, or items that I feel like I have a very reasonable explanation for as to why we chose to present something the way that we did. So I have good confidence on our ability to proceed with those. Obviously, there's other context that can be pulled in, as any of these organizations are independent in ultimately choosing to sign them. But the things that we have been able to control, the conversations I have been able to have, I do feel good about. And then, as was referenced, in just kind of respect of the chain of command of these organizations, when I meet with Huntington Valley, I do those meetings scheduled with Craig Colbert, who is their president. A couple months back, before we had actually shared the agreements, just with getting the sense it would be a good idea to pull in another member or a member of the board of trustees in this initial phase. So that's when Bill Weiland was added to that group. So we have now met with Craig and Bill together on 3 occasions. My most recent meeting was after having shared the full draft agreements, just to talk through really the major consideration of that meeting was Huntington Valley Relief Association has an extremely robust member benefits program. And as was discussed earlier, the conversations that I've had with their leadership along the way are that is an important thing to them. And we certainly understand that. I want to be clear with the 6 of you, if we were starting that today, that is not the program that we would build. However, it is the program that does exist. And in the documents that I shared with that organization, there's an exhibit to the bylaws, draft bylaws of the Relief Association, which spell out as an exhibit their current benefits program. Now, through the meetings with Craig and Bill, they are unsure how they provide some of those benefits. And my goal in those is to be able to put them under headings of if something is provided through an insurance policy, I want to reference that policy and then put the benefit underneath it. So that when these would be adopted by the new nonprofit, you've memorialized the existing program. So there is still feedback that I am waiting on some of those specifics. Broadly, they have shared those documents with the other 4 members of their board of trustees. So I am anticipating receipt of their written comments shortly. That is on their timing to be able to do. But I am hopeful, but not naive, that the conversations that I have had with Craig and Bill to explain how, from my level of things and kind of moving this along methodically, as to why things are drafted the way that they are and what are some of the gives that the township is putting into the process and what my expectation would be as the manager of some of the gives that Huntington Valley would put into the process. So once I have everything from each of those organizations, I would run that through our group that had put all of those documents together, make modifications that we think are things that we can recommend to you, and then give explanations for things that will not be modified in those agreements because we think that there's a valid reason to do so. Once we have those drafts, my intent would be that if there is a full board of trustees that would like to meet with me, I will happily do that and have those conversations to show, again, just kind of the full weight of the process and everything that has been considered and why things are being recommended the way that they are. That will then put things into the hands of each of the respective nonprofits that they can, my sincere hope would be that how reasonable I hope that my presentation would be today is that they do continue to wish to proceed with that consolidation. But it is their determination as to whether they do that, if they bring their assets into the new organization. And I think why I'm very comfortable recommending that process is that within the township's side of the fire services, we own the building, we own all of the apparatus, we own the major things that would be coming along with it. The Bernathen Fire Company has a relatively significant capital fund that I think would be a benefit into the new organization, provided that we give acceptable parameters for that money to come into the organization. Similarly, Huntington Valley Relief has a significant set that provides those benefits. And as we've conveyed in this meeting space before, in my conversations with Craig and with Bill, there are parameters that they would agree to have that money come over and be the member benefits program, in addition to other things that this board has done, like the Act 172 tax credits for volunteers, that creates a program that is well funded. It has incentives to volunteer. It builds volunteers into the overall organizational structure. But I can only control the side of what we put into that. It will be for the Board of Trustees to provide feedback at each organization. And ultimately today, they are both member voting organizations. So ultimately for the members to be able to authorize those. If that does not happen, then obviously we will need to report back to all of you and start talking about some contingencies. But that's kind of the methodical approach that I've been taking. And really for the better part, we haven't done the committee level meetings since we told the committee over the summer that it was time to start drafting these agreements. And understanding the sensitivities of all of this, I have tried to drive all of that out of my office. I share with you when I have every single meeting and conversation that I have, and there are drafts of those agreements and they get modified, they are in your Dropbox account. So those are the things that I have been doing on the FMFR consolidation.
They've been in our Dropbox since November.
Correct.
Are they in Mr. McDade's Dropbox
Yes.
right now?
Yeah, the full
Just
board of
wanna make sure.
commissioners is a share folder.
And just to clarify, it's 4 primary stakeholders, but 6 organizations in total.
That's correct, because the extra 2 come from the relief associations that you don't really think about on a day-to-day operations level, but they are separate.
And the last time you met with Craig Colbert and Bill Wyland in our tablets, it says January 13th.
Yes,
So, and they're lengthy documents, they have a lot to look over and discuss, so.
correct.
it
And
takes
Craig is
time.
their, out of the membership, he is their appointed president. Bill is one of the 5 trustees. There's obviously input from the other trustees and ultimately the members that way will need to filter. And I'm sure there is lots of conversation that is currently going on. And so when we're to be able to kind of put all the comments that we'll receive kind of into the filter and see what we're able to do with it.
Right.
So we need to wait to hear back from each board, what they have in front of them and what they agree to disagree with.
Yeah, I think that's a
Really,
really
we can work on to get them straightened out. But my next question is, what if we can't?
yeah, I think it's a matter of what the board's willingness and kind of your perception of what the solution is. So in the methodical nature of starting with the hiring of the chief of emergency services and doing the presentation that we had put together, geez, was that like September, October of 2024, I think at this point, that was the kind of review of what we have through the volunteers and ultimate recommendation that a hybrid model that is led with career staffing and then augmented by volunteers, kind of as the shift of mindset. So yeah, I think there would be, if one of the parties, and at this point, it really could be any of the 4 chooses to not participate, we'll have to deal with those implications and define what those are. I would say depending on which organization has an issue or a challenge with the thing that is happening, each one, I think on a scale or a range, poses some impact to us or little impact to us. And we would have to define what those are. So, and just as my final comment would be just reminding at this point, we've obviously had lots of funding related discussions, particularly over the last 2 budget cycles. And significant funding was created to further build out and invest in that career portion of the model. And so the funding that is in the 2026 budget expands out for the combination of fire and EMS services, puts 20 full-time firefighter EMTs into the organization. My perspective on that, and I think, is that obviously we want to make that number last as long as possible. But part of the reason why when we talk about kind of the data that supports these decisions and on to the next things, that to me, there's a little bit extra focus there that 5 people is still career-wise, if you could not rely on volunteers, it's an insufficient number of people to provide the service. So I think it puts us still at a very realistic point. It puts us at a stronger point than we have been in prior years. But I think getting to that 20 is the very helpful consideration of like, all right, you've got almost enough people to get out 1 fire truck and 1 ambulance. We understand within the operations model how you're able to leverage the dual training of those and perhaps get 2 ambulances out if there's 2 consecutive calls, and things of that nature. But I would caution kind of the intensity that the board like considers what the data is at this point, because what you have funded certainly feels expensive, and we do not put lightly what the investment is on behalf of this community, but it is still short of what would overall be necessary, and in my opinion, in working with Chief Showmaker. So we will very much hopefully get through this consolidation agreement process, and then be able to show you with this as the kind of the new established staffing benchmark, all of the information that would be necessary to keep reviewing that before we would make a recommendation that you would add to it. Because there's just, in addition to the staffing consideration, we're hoping for the February meeting, but we'll see what the right timing is to start giving you greater updates on the program for the proposed building, the way that is oriented, and the things that brings about, and the apparatus considerations, and all of like the big picture of what is going on. So I believe that is what I have on a fire rescue update.
Another quick question. I think you had it in one of our weekly memos or reports to all of us. You're keeping in touch with Ed, on council from.
So yes, always part of the funding process for the fire rescue station. The board borrowed the first $10 million in 2025. So that cash is now here. We have our first payment on that at the end of 2026. So we start to see that schedule proceed. So I wanted to be able to prepare sample budgets now based off of that. If we know all the staffing side of it, and that's if I can project that out at small growth over the next 5 years, what does the rest of the borrowing look like, so that when I need to recommend the taxing that is necessary to fund the borrowing for the building, understanding that there is a 90-10 ratio for those bond payments. I want to be able to give the board kind of a big picture look, and also what is your worst case scenario. So we know our construction is, and we'll get into this with Jamie Lynch, your construction manager. We've been building out the overall budget, and 2026, 2027 is a rough time for construction. So we're still within our $15 to $20 million estimate for getting the building in place. But there are other components when you add in what PennDOT is going to require for accessing the road, the things that it will take to set up occupancy in the building. I think at this point, without other revenues coming in, we will exceed that initial $20 million estimate. We have not designed anything that is different than what we told you that we were going to design this entire time. The part of the calculation that has changed is the construction value per square foot. And I don't have a good answer for you on that, other than that is the premise of why we are submitting for that PennDOT OTF grant now. If we can do that, that can take $1.6 million out of that cost. We also, frustratingly, try to do this simple. We have a funding authorization for a grant program called RACP that traditionally is done as part of the overall budget authorization process on the state level. We know how the state budget went last year. And it's a remarkably frustrating process. So for the first time in a while, the budget bill did not include those itemizations for RACP, therefore we cannot apply yet. That bill is stuck. It's currently in the Senate, hoping for a spring approval. The House version has already approved the itemization. Through Representative Gent's office, that itemization is in there. It's for $10 million, but I will set an expectation now, you will not get $10 million. But if we can get 1, 2, 3, whatever that number is through that process, and this is the one where it will require that we have a consultant manage the RACP grant, because they are an absolute pain to do. But if that's another several $1 million that can come out of that cost, that gets us back down into kind of full occupancy, full consideration for that building, but also relies on grants to get us back down into our original, hopefully regular $20 million estimate. It's going to require some work to get us there, and we're going to need some help on the state level to make that happen. But based off of all of it's all the same grant programs that we regularly apply for, that we regularly get. So I'm hopeful that those partnerships will continue and help keep us within that budget target. So all of that said, I met with our bond underwriter to get kind of worst case scenario. What if we have a $27 billion project, and what are the taxes that are necessary to do that? So I just last week got the estimates of what it would be if we sold those bonds. Now it would be a new series of 2026. So be prepared, end of this year, we will be doing another bond issue. And then whether or not we need a second, a third overall bond issue to fund the overall balance. When we go to have those conversations meaningfully with this board, I will have the sample 5-year budgets worked out, so we can have a high-end estimate of what it would cost on the tax side to make that happen. And again, through the entirety of this project, the goal would always be, I want you to know what your maximum exposure is, and then we will work to do better.
One other thing, because I know the team has been working really hard with Jamie Lynch, there's a whole crew and a team with regard to the, the physical plant,
Mhm.
the new building, the firehouse. And I know, we might have something to show the board, like a rough,
Yes.
something, a sketch,
So no, it'll be even more than, you'll be impressed
So-
with what you see.
pretty soon, right?
So our original target was to do that in January. I think I had an accurate read of the room and chose to not do that. So we will instead, if it's agreeable to the board, if things kind of settle sufficiently to be able to have a conversation around the most expensive thing that you'll probably ever consider. I would love to bring that to you at the February meeting, but we can have conversations over the next week to see if that's appropriate. If not, we can bump that to March.
Okay, so that's exciting, and thank you everyone for your hard work in the back of the room, and everyone that's been, when I come in here, they're in that room and working, and really, thank you for all your input. Okay,
I apologize for the amount of time that I just took.
no, this is important, very important. Okay, thank you, Manager Hoffman. Next, Assistant Manager E.J. Lee, anything you want to highlight?
No, I mean, my primary focus December and January has been more internal operationally to ensure we file all the required reports to state and local agencies for personnel purposes, tax returns and things of that nature, and other state funding requirements that we receive at the end of the year that relies on reports that are required in January. So January's been a busy month with just reports and things like that. And the audit also. So that's been my primary goal.
Always an excellent job, and under trash and recycling collection transition, I want to help. I want to thank you and Leah for fielding all the calls and
It was all public works.
Public Works, Steve also. The transition, thank you very much, and communication too, and for all your hard work with grants, because they're listed. Thank you so much. I'll accept both of your reports as submitted. Next, Dennis, do you want to take care of the building officials report?
Public
Oh, Public Works. Okay, Chuck, your Public Works
Thank you.
and Department and Sanitary Sewer. There you
Everybody
go.
know we had the
Thank you.
snowstorm. I was in constant communication with Steve over the weekend, and I thought Public Works did an outstanding job throughout the township. We did get a few complaints. I did call Steve. Steve got right on them. And I think our streets are in pretty decent shape right now. I know it's kind of hard with the ice and the temperatures, but when we get a complaint, I go right to Steve, and Steve's right on it. We did get trash complaints on Ward 2 residents. I did reach out to Steve, and there was about trash blowing along the red line road, cardboard boxes, some trash that didn't make it into the bins, got out. Steve was there. He seen it. He went out and picked it up. So I want to thank you for that. And Public Works did an outstanding job with the snow. I mean, fantastic. One question, how are we on salt?
So we have enough salt right now to make it through another storm, but at one time, there's a shortage of salt. We deal with 2 contracts. Our state contract has been good, our consortium contract. They've kind of been a little lax short on the salt deliveries, but they have a barge that's due in this week. And they're supposed to get back up to speed on doing our deliveries. We probably have about 200 tons, good enough to get us through another storm or 2. And we have 550 tons on back order.
How are we on budget with the storms and?
I would say we're probably way over.
Yeah.
So we had back-to-back storms, that were payroll wise pretty high because they were on Sundays and holidays.
We're over before then.
And we usually count on about 1,000 tons of salt. We're probably at over 1,500 tons now. That's starting with about 800. So with what we've ordered, we'll be right about at our limit. As far as budget wise, I would defer to Chris.
Yeah, so we're still, with that Sunday storm, is that this current pay period? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so obviously we'll take a look at that. And it's all a matter of when the snow falls and when our guys are triggered to come in. So there's considerations for how you pay for that on Saturdays, how you pay for that on Sundays compared to weekdays. And the snow budget is one of those things where I do build in contingencies to have some options for how we deal with that at the end of the year. We've had a lot of snow, I think, because of expectations in the community. Our public works has to use more salt than we would have in the past. But so far this year, it's been a lot, but it isn't without precedent. So we will find ways when we're going to take what was your adopted budget for 26 and build that into at the end of the year, I'll find ways to deal with that for you.
Thank you. Good.
Anything else, Steve?
Just the trash, I feel it has gotten better there. We store fielding calls, but you can see incrementally. I think everyone's starting to get the hang of it, especially with the recycling. One thing that we were considering was if the board wanted to, we could purchase bigger recycling containers for the people that want to recycle more. Because that seemed to be, especially after the holiday, was the biggest problem with putting cardboard next to the can. You know, everything's got to be in it. So we could purchase 25 96 gallon cans, we could purchase 50, and the residents that want them, we could swap that out for their 64 recycling can. So that's an option if that's something you would want to do.
They're
Is that the
taking
scale?
multiple cans. On recycle, if you're putting 2 recycle cans out, they're taking.
I can't say that, but
Whoops.
I mean, so. I guess what I don't understand, is it because historically we weren't hearing about the problems because they could put the boxes next to the can and they would pick them up, and now
Correct.
because it's all automatic, it's not, okay,
Yeah.
that's the issue.
And so we did talk with AJ Blazinski to see if they had a preference on the recycling side, if we can offer for like just larger families or whatever the situation would be, where the 64 gallon container that they have had since 2013 was not enough.
Right.
Could we either offer them a second container? We probably had some instances already around the township of that being the case, so that's maybe what you're seeing.
Yeah.
If their preference was that, or if it was to offer a larger container, and their preference was the larger container. So that's what I'm-
everybody's.
One of the key things I'm seeing is when the containers are overstuffed and they're going to dump it with mechanical arms, you're losing some stuff.
Yeah.
And the guys aren't getting it up, and I know they can't stop to do that.
In the wind, but I've talked to them,
Yeah.
it's a bigger problem with recycling than trash. And I've talked to him about it, he's trying to stay on the recycle guide then.
No, they're excellent though.
I think
Nice
they're
guys.
doing a good job.
Steve, can you comment? So we talk about recycling mode for trash. So I had a resident reach out about getting an additional can for trash. How many requests have we gotten so far to get?
I haven't kept track, but I'll tell you, we've gotten a lot, but we've also given out far more smaller containers than I think anyone thought we would. We've given out over 150 smaller containers and taken the 96.
So people have been asking. For
Oh, yeah,
boxes as
so
well.
we're almost out of 48 gallon containers.
Okay.
So a lot of older residents obviously want that smaller can, so we've actually, we're about 150.
So the way we conveyed that to Blazinski in the meeting, if there was, when it is time to be able to offer, if somebody wanted a second container, because of the number of smaller containers, like obviously the thing that we need to respect in any of these kind of subtle tweaks to process is making sure that what they bid and kind of their cost expectations are generally playing. So we think that we have sufficiently bought some space for the instances of second containers because of how many 64s and 48s have been given out.
Makes sense.
But we would still encourage any resident to kind of try the program as designed through the end of March. And then
I was gonna ask if that's still our position or if we have given any out.
I haven't given any out yet, and I've relayed that, we have a couple people that are very lost, I have 1-7, 1-9.
Yeah.
And I've asked them and they've called back saying they can't do it, so we're kind of working through that, but no, we have not. That's what, yeah, I'm trying to get everyone to April 1st.
And then just as the reminder for the board that what we proposed for how to get that second container is just to buy it at a cost. One of the things that we've talked about with colleagues is that sometimes if you expand the program at any one house, some municipalities are actually charging a second full trash fee because they've built the program around one pickup for trash, one pickup for recycling. We can't justify having somebody pay another $500. So we think that, well, it may be frustrating to have to buying something at our cost of approximately $50 compared to what you would buy at Home Depot for $120 is a pretty fair offer.
And when will they be able to offer, say, a second recycling can, so a larger recycling can if
So that's
someone
what it is, if you wanna,
swap
we
that
can
in?
purchase some 96s and swap them out.
So if we get the quote for that, I don't think it's that expensive that we can just have that on an upcoming bill list for you to authorize. And if we have the stock, we can do it as a pilot.
Then they said it's okay.
Yes,
They said that's okay, because some of the larger families are asking me
not
for
a
that.
double, but all
already.
larger recycling.
You know, people with,
Yeah,
a lot of kids and
Yeah.
order a lot of stuff.
It's just still a single pickup, one recyclable with a larger can.
yes.
Okay.
Our traffic light improvement at Lieberman and Valley and Wells is progressing. The snow obviously stopped them. I know EJ and I've been working with the contractor, but he's been out there. Down here, Red Line and Philmont, those guys are really going down to town on that job. The only reason they had to stop was Pete goes coming in to move the poles. That's due February 18th. Obviously, the snow stopped, that's when our contractor, I think, pretty way ahead of that job. They're really good company to work with. One other thing I wanted to mention, the PennDOT's gonna pave Valley Road, our portion of Valley Road from Wells to the Abington line, that's owned by PennDOT. Montgomery County Planning Commission came in, I guess it was, they wanna put sharrows in there for a bike lane. So being that it's a PennDOT road, we would have to maintain those markings in between the paving cycles. So that's something that EJ and I had to should do a presentation with that, and make sure that it's something that the board would be okay. Yeah, it would actually connect the bike lane that's already on Valley Road to our section of
Yeah,
it.
the project makes perfect sense to me
Yeah.
because the bike lane exists. The thing that we wanted to
Yeah.
make sure before we gave the okay was that adding that maintenance responsibility to Public Works was reasonable. And after EJ and Steve met with them on that, the answer was yes.
Sure.
So you'll see that as an improvement there when PennDOT paves that road.
And then the last thing I was, the Pennypack watershed reached out to us. They're trying to do a Pennypack creek cleanup I think around March 20th. And they wanted to know if the township would want to help be involved with it with volunteers. Us give permission, the board give permission to go anywhere on our property. I'm guessing Elkins. That so that they could use that and we could help with the trash disposal. I think it's a pretty nice project. This I'm gonna meet with Kevin Roth, I think after the snow melts. July. That's about all I got.
Sounds great.
Is there any questions?
Any questions from the board?
We'd like to thank the whole board and Chris, EJ and Leah for, when we do get in these snowstorms and, I text Chris. I ask Leah to post something, Scott, his guys went out, the cars. The whole board, I do appreciate your support on these. Sometimes it's not gonna be nice and, we're gonna miss something or it's not gonna be good, but, going into it, if everyone's support, great for me and my guys. We really appreciate it.
Any questions from the public? Anything on Zoom? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve, I also want to thank you. I want to thank Shelley. I want to thank the police, the chief. I want to thank Ted back there, our chief, and Mark Showmaker, all our emergency management, Leah, EJ, everyone. Thank you, and thank you. Commissioner McKay. And you have your sewer department report,
So that's,
Commissioner McKay.
No.
Oh.
We're going to-
Oh, Ruth.
You know what, I'll do this
You wanna get-
part later, because I'll do the sewer and the authority.
So you want to half that?
Yeah.
Half, okay, all right. Commissioner Mueller? Or Ted's gonna take the building? Okay, good.
We had 73 permits issued for the month. We had 22 meetings with homeowners or contractors. We attended the PASO meeting again this month. And also had a PennBach meeting where Jill is now the new education chair of the PennBach Region 1.
The organization isn't prepared for that.
They will be shortly. And we had a total of 211 inspections in building, residential and commercial.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions from the board or the public? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mueller. Commissioner Canali, public safety report.
Sounds good. First up is Chief Smith.
My full report was submitted, if there's any questions on that specifically, but just to echo a couple things tonight. First, selfishly, the police department is doing a great job. Second, and more importantly, I want to thank Steve on behalf of the officers, because he really does, the way that Department of Public Works does really makes the police officers' job a lot easier. We are appropriately called Huntington Valley. There's a lot of hills, and when we get these snowstorms, the work they did made it a lot easier for our officers, so we definitely appreciate that. So next. Overall, we did have 1,220 calls for service this month, or excuse me, December. There is always a drop, usually around that time of year. Cold weather is one thing. Generally speaking, the officers are a little more kind with traffic stops, so those go down around the holiday time. And just traffic related issues generally reduce with the weather. So that was one of our lowest months of the year, calls for service. Some quick crime alerts. So the newer fraud that's been coming out or that's been experienced a lot in Montgomery County is jury duty scams. So just to remind everybody, the sheriff's department is not going to call you and ask for money over the phone. Just, you can hang it up, call us. We will tell you the same. You can always call the courthouse as well. But that was a frequent one last month that happened quite a bit. Broken record, but the theft motors continue. Just remember, like what we say, lock your doors, keep the valuables out of your car. There are some reports of the fob cloning, so a key fob cloning that's going on. There are some things you can do to help yourself with that. We do post them online on our Crime Watch for everybody too. But they actually have cheap bags that you can buy online that don't allow the signal from your keys to get out when you keep them in your car, or in your house. And like I always say, just be aware of what's going on around you, be good neighbors. You hear something, just call us, please. You see a car driving slowly through the neighborhood, that's a lot of what we're experiencing, is a car will drive through, 4 people will jump out of the car, they go to every car they can, and then they run back to the car and throw any valuables in, and they'll move down to the next street. So you see anything, please just give us a call. If your ring camera wakes you up, it may be a deer, we know that, but it could be someone in your driveway, so just give us a call. Some good arrests by the officers in the month of December. A detective investigation led to a sexual assault arrest. Was very quick and effective. There was no threat to the community. It was a known offender, but the detective, had to do a lot of follow-up, and that person is off the streets, thankfully. I did mention it because it happened the night of our last township meeting in December, that we did have the one bigger arrest from theft from auto, where we arrested 4 juveniles that were doing that same thing I described earlier. Thankfully, that we recovered a lot of stolen property from a couple municipalities nearby and cleared several cases for ourselves and for those municipalities. So it's some good work by the officers. We did have a little uptick in driving under the influence in December. That our officers made arrests. That again generally happens around the holiday times, that does happen. But again, we are out there to stop this, and we always remind people that there's Uber, there's Lyft, call someone for a ride. It's a big danger to the community, so I'm just glad the officers were able to go out there and stop some of that from occurring. A good initiative that the district attorney's office started last year, and you may have seen the reports on the news. They looked at a lot of what these vape and smoke shops are selling in their establishments, and found that a lot of them are mislabeling things, and sometimes knowingly mislabeling things so that it can sell illegal products. So the district attorney's office made a big push to get all that information out to everybody. And part of that was on December 11th, I actually went out to every one of our establishments that sells tobacco related products with the district attorney's office. We advised them all the standards, gave them a informational website that they can go to ensure that what they're selling. And really what it was is they were all really warned that we're going to be going back out there. So if we find them selling anything, they're going to be arrested and prosecuted. So it's a lot of dangerous stuff that's being sold in these establishments. So ours, like I said, we're very cooperative, but every one of them was visited and they know exactly what to expect and if we come back out again. So I did promise and I did find out bus patrol, we did see a big decrease again for the second month in a row. Again, there's still too many violations, so I will never tell you it's perfect where everyone's behaving around school buses, but we went down to 150 violations, whereas if you recall, for several months in a row, we were between 200 and 300. So the last two, we've been down below 200. So it's good to know that, but again, like I said, it's way too high. It's not a good thing. Officer Wagner, who was sworn in last month, is doing very well. His prior experience was really helping out. He should be advancing probably early through our program and be on the streets and be a full-fledged officer for us very soon. Some upcoming community events. This hasn't been posted yet. Again, I have mentioned it a couple times, but in May 16th, we were able to partner with Representative Against office for a shredding event. That'll be at the Lower Moreland High School or Lower Moreland Middle School, High School area. They're going to accept e-waste. It's a free event. They'll keep going for the full 2 hours of it. I believe it's 10 to 12 on May 16th, or until the trucks get filled. So whatever they have, come on out, and we will post this on our social media as a reminder.
Chief, is there a limit?
So they didn't say anything about individual limits, but I mean, obviously we don't want to, this is for the community. So if you have your personal items, that's what we would encourage you to bring out. If you work for a business and you're trying to get rid of your business stuff, I would say we won't avoid that, obviously. We want to get the most benefit for the residents to have this event. And like I said, some of the good things, like they said, they're going to accept some e-waste as well. They're going to have that too. One of the things I promised early on that we're going to get started this spring, came up with the name of Stroll with Patrol. So the plan is to have myself and the lieutenant and maybe an officer or two walking through each of the neighborhoods, kind of like a coffee with a cop, but mobile. So we'll post it on our website. We'll be out in this area. Come on out and meet our officers. We'll kind of give the route we're going to walk through and just walk through the community. So if anybody wants to walk with us and kids want to ride their bikes with us, it's all good. We'll hopefully be starting it up in the spring once it gets a little warmer. And in February, we're planning on our February event is the Coffee with a Cop. Hopefully at the newly renovated and reopened Dunkin' Donuts. It's where we're planning for this week. I have been in there, so it is open, but we'll see how that goes. We're just waiting for them to confirm the date with us. That's okay with that. And I know, as was mentioned last month at the meeting, the Battle of the Badges, the toy drive. Again, the winners are the kids. We were able to donate a lot of kids to the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services. So it went to help a lot of kids in Montgomery County that maybe were in need. So it was a good event, great partnership with the police department, fire department, EMS. So overall, that was a big December event. So any specific questions or
Anything from the board?
I wanted to thank you so much for having the meeting with the Fetters Mill Road neighbors in Rootsworth. And it was you had like 60 people over there.
very well attended.
Residents, it seemed like it really worked out real well. So thanks so much.
Your report was very well done.
Yeah.
It laid the groundwork for me to break your hearts.
Any other questions from the board? Anything from the public? Thank you, Chief Smith. Next up, Fire Marshal Shell.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just a couple things under emergency management. We're starting to get ready for our edits committee seminar in 2026 in October, so we're getting that final, our final speakers and getting that plan together for the October. Just a couple of fire investigations with mutual aid. I had a small fire on Oak Road on the night of December 14th in our township. UNOs, we went over with Jen and Jill and Ted, and we reviewed all the UNOs for the past 2025, and we've been out pretty steadily for 2026 in the month of January. We've had two properties that have been a pain for us or been problems for us, but we're working on getting them together, getting them cleaned up. It's 2727 Philmont and 3103. We've made major progress on those, and we're still on. It's an ongoing issue, but we're getting them done slow but sure. And then I had a couple change in Knox box keys if they don't change out, they change the lock, they don't tell me, then it's a problem for the fire departments. But we're getting them pretty much cleaned up as well.
Sounds good. Any questions from the board? Anything from the public? Thank you, Fire Marshal Shaler. Chief Showmaker.
Good evening, everyone. I'll try to be real brief, just hit some quick highlights. Again, this is for the December report for our township meetings. We've attended the Burnett and Borough Council meeting. Was absent from this meeting due to illness, unfortunately. We've attended the Fire Marshal's meeting, Board of Directors meetings for Burnett Fire Company, Emergency Medical Association meeting, and the Burnett Fire Company Officers meeting. And then a number of meetings that we've been having, as you heard, the manager state with the work groups, the elected officials, and the two solicitors' office in developing the agreements and the bylaws that we put forth to the groups to review for their comments. As far as training for the month of December was a little bit lax due to the disruption with the holiday schedules. However, we did get some individual trainings done, and our career staff did their daily trainings, as well as I attended with the L&I group a property maintenance continuing education class. As far as the vehicles go, engine 19-1, which is the Burnett Fire Company engine, has been placed up for sale as part of our fleet reduction program. It's been advertised now for about a month. We've had a couple inquiries about it, but nothing solid yet. The new truck is actually just about finished. We're scheduled to do a final inspection. Both Deputy Chief Weiss and Chris Amato will be accompanying me on the inspection for that final look over and approval. And then we will see that come to the Glick, which is the dealer out in Lancaster, for some fit outs they do as part of the contract. And I expect that to be in the area in March, mid-March, projected time on that. I've been working with both deputy chiefs, Middleman and Weiss, on the equipment for that. I think we're pretty confident that we have most equipment we're going to need, with the exception of some hose that has already been ordered from the Station 19-1 group. And we've been attending weekly meetings regarding the building. As you heard, there's been a lot of work being done on the design of the building and getting our portion of that phase done, so the next group can come in and work on that. But you'll see what we've accomplished in the presentation. I think you're going to be pretty impressed. We were very conservative with what we looked at. We've been out visiting places. We've sat down. We've had many meetings. We've fine-tuned this down to what the needs will be to take us into 30+ years on a building, and then to accommodate a building that will accommodate both the career and volunteer staff. So a lot of work there. It's been quite rewarding, and I think you're going to be impressed with that. As far as some statistics or some call volumes, 12/8/25, we were down to Welsh and Philmont for a vehicle extrication. We had one female trapped in a vehicle from a 2-car collision. And on 12/14/25, 3141 Oak for a storm-related structure fire. That was after a snowstorm. We had some electrical issues from wires coming down that were backfeeding into some houses. As the fire marshal mentioned, he did the investigation on that. We're also going to be partnering with the police department on the car seat program. The FMFR is going to be participating with that. I just learned that today. Just wanted to get a quick mention in, but you'll hear that in my February January report. As far as calls go for the Burnett Emergency Medical Call to Burnett, 6 for the month of December, 132 in Lower Moreland, 73 other, for a total of 211 calls for the month of December. And to close out the year, we were at 2,296 emergency medical calls to be handled. As far as the fire company calls go, the Bernathen Fire Company responded 2 times in Bernathen, 27 times into Lower Moreland, 4 times outside the area, for a total of 33 calls for the month. In my report, you'll see there it says 478. It is actually 509 calls that they responded to for the year. It's the highest call volumes for all EMS and both fire departments that we've experienced. For the Huntington Valley Station, fire calls in Lower Moreland, 28, 2 into Bernathen, 1 outside the area, for a total of 31 calls for the month. And they ended up with 503 calls for the year. That concludes my report.
Any questions from the board?
Chief, the new truck,
Yes, sir.
when it comes in, where will be housed at?
That will be deployed to where our resources are located, that we have our career staff, because that's the primary piece that goes out first. It'll be at 19-1 station. Yes.
And the township of Lower Moreland is paying for that, the house in Bernathen?
That's correct. You authorized me to deploy the resources, and that's where I believe the resources should be at. That resource. That's where our career staff is. It's the first piece out for all calls.
So this month, did we have any calls that we didn't have the career staff answer?
Not that I'm aware of.
Can you look into that for me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have calls that the volunteers didn't get to.
I understand that.
Okay.
Right.
I just want to make sure we do that.
Yeah, right. I understand that.
But no, I think the career staff was at all the calls that they were dispatched.
Do we have any instances where, like, because of the ambulance being out, that they were not able to respond to a fire?
They probably responded, but they may not have 4 people on. And that happens quite a bit, obviously. And then we're going sometimes 3 deep on our ambulance calls. It's becoming more popular. Not popular, but more requests for service.
He's still keeping one ambulance off so that it can be reserved.
Yeah, what we
for
do,
calls.
we have what's called a float status, and one primary ambulance is up to respond anywhere, because we're part of the mutual aid system. The second ambulance is cross-manned. Okay, that's where we may take some of the folks from the fire truck off, but we have to, depending on the time of the day, because nighttime it's less. But what is, the float truck is designated to handle calls in both Bernathen and Lower Moreland. Now, if the 911 center dispatches it, we can't control that outside the area. But we've had a couple cases of that happening this last month, and we've been questioning them on that, why that is happening. We still haven't received that answer back yet, but Deputy Chief Elder's in the back here. He handles the EMS and the career supervisor for the staff. He's been working diligently on that along with Kenny Schouder to try to get those answers why we're being dispatched so much.
So we're, even though it's in that float status, it's still being.
It can be at a dispatcher's discretion. That's not how we plan on it being used, but and unless it was a call that's it's a bordering call like to Meadowbrook Apartments or a cardiac arrest, we would expect that to go to it because we're right there. We're the closest people to that. However, it's primarily set up for 2 communities.
But it's a dispatching problem.
It's something that our people,
Yeah, the dispatching.
we know it's not us. It's their dispatchers have discretion on some types of calls. And I think they're, in my opinion, I think they're doing a little bit too much. That's why we're asking for that answer, trying to get those answers. But we haven't discussed that over the last 3 weeks. It's been something that's on the top of our radar.
And Chief, where are we in hiring?
Right now,
We are full.
we're full staff.
We staff 5 cross-trained individuals 24/7.
I've lost track because we've been doing so much interviewing.
So we staff 5 cross-trained individuals 24/7, 4 platoons, as well as we offered 2 positions during the day for per diem staff from 6 AM to 6 PM, as well as myself Monday through Friday and our office manager Monday through Thursday.
So that includes the 4 new positions that we opened up. The
5 year positions, yeah.
Oh,
it is fine.
position. 1 position that make the
4 people, 5 days a week, it's full, yeah. The last guy comes off his orientation next week. So all the positions for those 5 staff, 24/7 are hired. We have the potential for an additional 4 during the day, depending on per diem staffing and myself in the office and the office manager.
And it's important to note, like you said, we are cross-trained folks, whether it be firefighter EMT or firefighter paramedic, because we run advanced life support, which requires the paramedics on there. So we have a mix of everything there.
And just as a clarification, if I can, Chief, on the float status, we are addressing that both at the communications committee level as well as the Montgomery County Ambulance Association level, to prevent that dispatching of assets that are mostly paid for by municipalities. We're not the only one that this is affecting, to lesser priority calls outside of our local. As part of the mutual aid agreements that we have, if we're on float status, we will get dispatched if we are the geographically closest ambulance to a cardiac arrest, a shooting, those types of emergencies.
Yeah, and it's just not us, there's a lot of folks involved. The EMS system is hurting just as much as the fire, if not more, because they're heavier call volume.
So then we rely on second alarmers to answer our calls in-house when you're outhouse.
So that would be the case.
Or it could be any, it could be
It could be-
Trihampton Rescue Squad, whoever's available at the time.
Yeah,
But
so
here's the odd part, we could be out covering a call for second alarmers. And then we miss a call back here, and then they go available, they come here to call here, so.
I mean, statistically, since we started staffing the second unit more, and we have the availability of the daytime staff as well, we have covered effectively, I think it's over 95% of our second ambulance calls that we were typically being covered on. So our ambulance is showing up to Lower Moreland Township or Ramage Borough almost exclusively. Unless we're down an ambulance, but we now have 3 ambulances, so that shouldn't happen. So unless there's a call out, a vacation, or we're on 2 calls, we're not being covered nearly as much as we ever were.
And you actually went 3 people last week for the first time ever.
Yeah, and that's just because we had 8 people in the house.
Again, we maximize our staff, and like you said, Fred goes out and calls, the office manager goes out and calls, whoever's available to go, we send up, whether it's fire
Volunteers
or EMS. But it's important, we, on the fire side, we're trying to meet that benchmark, and the 4 that we established, the 4 people, 9 minutes, 90% of the time. That's where we're working for. And you're gonna see my report's gonna be revised next month, it's gonna be laid out a little bit different. And I'm not gonna be listing both organizations, we're not in competition, we're one group responding. We want to show you what we're doing as a group, and that's what we're gonna try to achieve. The issue I'm having with it is, there's been a national changeover of the reporting system, it's called NERS. And every software company had to switch over to this, every fire department had to switch over to this reporting system. The problem with it is, we found out, once you switched over, all the fields changed, so now our custom reports that we wrote to bring out the information I was extracting for you, now all has to be reproduced, and we didn't know that. And it's just not the group we're using, it's other softwares out there as well. But we are trying to get onto one software. We had a meeting with the Huntington Valley folks, Chris and I met with them. They asked to buy the same software, but their own version, because they felt that there was some critical information that was sensitive that they weren't comfortable letting out yet until we're together, which is fine. So we're doing that, they're trying to get that populated. And then hopefully we'll be able to have eventually one system that comes along that makes it a little bit easier for me to extract the information I need to report to you.
Any other questions for the chief?
I just, stipend program, how are we making out with that? We have no daytime stipend.
That is correct. Kate had come to me and asked me if we could do a temporary stipend program till the money runs out that they had already received.
Right.
And authorized them to do that at night in conjunction with Ted. And that was supposed to be, I think, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday nights from 6 to 11 p.m. But I don't believe they have it in place yet. But it's only going to be short-lived.
Right.
And again, in my opinion, and again, this is my opinion, which you hired me to tell you, the stipend program I didn't feel was handing out what it should be. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I didn't want to get into that. If you want to sit down sometime, I'd be more than happy to sit down and discuss it. In fact, based on the conversation I was hearing earlier, it might be advantageous for us to have you guys all take a field trip up to not only this station here, but the Brenathan station, take a look around, show you our operation, show you our people, show you what we do, so you have a better understanding of that. So that offer's out there. So if you want to do that,
Let's do it.
we'll set something up where we can go up there and do that.
We also discussed visiting other firehouses so that we have a better idea of what you want to build.
Oh, we have done that. We've been to many fire stations.
We have.
Okay. Well, I think you're gonna see in this presentation, the
Okay.
culmination of what we've come up with is based on all these other places we went to and the best practices in the industry for when they're designing these. there was just an article today and I sent it out to Chris and a couple of the people in our work group to look at on the station that's actually they're going through the same process we are right now. And it's like almost identical to what we're doing. So it's good validation of what we're working on and the work we're doing to get there.
Yeah, I think we want to be able to do that presentation to the board so that a lot of the language around the areas of the building, that can be a thing that you're now all familiar with. And then if it would be helpful to go see a sample station of that, we can absolutely.
Yeah.
Report it.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify, you talked about stipend and being short-lived. What did you mean by that?
Well, we haven't, a stipend is not budgeted for the 2026 year.
I thought we budgeted 9 times the stipend.
I'm sorry, I change that. We kept in a nighttime stipend for the nighttime from 12 AM to 6 AM. And that's for a responding persons, it's basically pay per call.
Right, so there's a distinction between, in Huntington Valley's bylaws, a stipend member and other volunteers. What you kept at a nighttime stipend was for volunteers, not for stipend designation. Okay.
But that is budgeted.
I got it. I wasn't thinking that as stipend, it's I call pay per call.
I just want to make sure I understood that.
Any other questions from the board? Any other questions?
Just one thing again for Mr. Steve here, I want to thank him. We had a call to the Huntington Valley, what do we call that? Skilled nursing facility on Saturday in the middle of the snowstorm. Very challenging getting there. And Steve's guys came out and plowed the path for us to get up there. So we can have him. I didn't get the unit number on the truck, but I did call him the radio thing. So hopefully you got that.
Any other questions from the public? Go ahead, Bill.
You were saying that you have.
Stand up and get your name and your address, please.
Bill Untrick, 410 Keats Road. You need a programmer to integrate those two systems?
Well, no, they're actually the same system that we're getting them onto. We were trying to do it all as one, but because of some sensitive information of their members, they felt it was, at this point, they weren't comfortable doing that. So we authorized them to go into their own version of the same program. It's called ESO, it's a reporting system. And then the hopes is that once we're together as one, like we can somehow bring that information or consolidate it. Talking to the manufacturer, through our office manager, there's some challenges there, but we're gonna see what we can get.
Programming challenges or just that integrate or just
varying the information from one into the other. I don't know why it's a problem, but they tell us it is.
Why do you call this? Yeah, seriously.
I'll get you
this. Yeah, you can help us.
All right.
That's.
Any other questions from the public? Anybody online? Thank you, Chief. Sure.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report on public safety.
Next is on my agenda, thank you, Commissioner Canale, the tax collector's report. We have our elected tax collector, Jane Sale. Jane, are you up there and online? On Zoom?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, thanks, Commissioner Carrots. So we've closed out 2025 for the taxes. The total taxes collected, including trash, was $8,271,531. It's a 98.83% collection at face value. And we liened $55,742 to the Montgomery County Tax Claim Bureau. So those letters will be going out shortly and the residents will be, given an opportunity to make payment arrangements. For 2026, the opening balances for the township, ambulance and EMS, fire and library totals $7,806,008 even. Trash totals $2,349,540 even, for a total due to the township of $10,155,548. So we're hoping to have a good success of collection for 2026 as well.
Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Jane. More tax collector. Okay. Any questions from the public? I believe these are published on our website. Thanks, Jim. Okay, hearing none. I'll accept your report as submitted. Thanks, Jane. Next item on my agenda is review and consider minutes of December 9th, and thirtieth, 2025. Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding our minutes?
No.
None. Any questions from the public? I believe they're also out there and published. Seeing none, hearing none, Leah? No. I'll make a motion to approve the December 9th and 30th, 2025 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the December 9th and 30th, 2025 minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed? Thank you, Commissioners. The minutes are passed. Next is review and consider the January 2026 bill list.
No, we had other.
That was in there.
The motion was made to do both together.
Both together, yeah.
Thank you.
DJ, thank you. The bill list is amazing. Does anyone have any questions?
For December 9th and 30th.
Yeah, regarding the January 2026 bill list. Our bill list is for approval of $955,925.32 is for the new bill list approval, but it's for a total of $2,108,650.26. Does anyone have any questions regarding our January bill list?
Questions?
I just have a quick question, regarding the special OT reimbursements for police. There was the time, it says a portion will be covered, which I know was the case. When will we know how much? Is that still trying to be resolved, or?
Yeah, we're usually about like 4 to 6 weeks behind because we bill them for it and then they send us the payments. They're pretty on time.
Okay.
Probably by mid-February, we should have a better idea once that's all reconciled. But what we normally do is when we get it, it just applies to the current year. So the ones that are in between, there were some activities towards the end of December, they'll just get applied in January because that's when the payments come in. But I can do a quick backtrack of November, December to see if we can get a more accurate over time calculation.
Yeah, even with specific numbers are rough, like, do we feel like is that expected, just the 113? I'm just curious if that's, because I know that's things we can't count for, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure which ones are the ones.
I'm just looking at the pay overtime expenditures.
At the end of December, police overtime landed at 113% of what was budgeted. I don't think we received all the but that was the biggest one.
Yes, right.
And so I can go back and check and see how much of that, I can give us a better idea of where that number would actually fall once we get all the reimbursements. And I think it'll be closer to maybe 103%.
Cool. That's what I was looking for, to see how close it was to what we expected it to be.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions for EJ?
No.
It's always well broken down. Thanks so much, EJ. I'll make a motion to approve the January 2026 bill list.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the January 2026 bill list. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? See, thank you. Motion's passed. Next, Dennis.
Yeah, I have,
H, I, and J.
Yep. So, the first item here on the agenda, I have a receipt of, 2 memos, one from, Manager Hoffman and the second supporting from, Township, Engineer Tim Woodrow for Philmont Country Club. Developers requesting the second escrow release for their financial security posted to guarantee, the improvements. Engineer Woodrow has reviewed the request and recommends $2,014,518.06 to be released. The full amount was $9,484,883.61. As a reminder, the first release was for $4,980,669.70. This leaves a balance of $2,489,695.85. So are there any questions for this next escrow release from the board?
And Tim is inside the TV if you do have any questions.
There we go.
Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the release of the second escrow in the amount of $2,014,518.06.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to approve escrow release number 2. As described, that was for Elm Street, Philmont Country Club, number 1704. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion's passed. Thank you, commissioners.
The second is for the final escrow release for Westrum at 2507 Philmont Avenue. We were holding $10,000 in escrow since February of 2025 as Westrum sought to close out their stormwater permit for Montgomery County Conservation District. We received notice on December 16th that all the obligations have been met. Therefore, there's a recommendation to release the final escrow amount, and Engineer Tim Woodrow also supports that. And Tim, if you're on, I don't know if you have any final comments for this final escrow release.
No, Dennis, we've, held this money for quite some time just to ensure the developer fulfilled his obligations. With that notice from DEP, that item has been off the checklist, so I think it's appropriate to release that final 10,000 at this time.
Okay, thank you. So the total amount of escrow for the project was $1,389,506.71, and we've released all but $10,000 at this time. So, any questions from the board?
I have a question. This is for the DEP, correct? Stormwater, correct? On the property, correct?
Correct.
Tim, can I?
Yeah. Sure.
The stormwater on the property, the last storm that we had, it flooded that property. How can we release this escrow when that property was flooded? The rear parking lot towards Red Line Road was flooded. How did that affect this being released, and why is it being released?
Yeah, Chuck, the money was being held to make sure that the developer met all the obligations that were identified in their NPDES permit.
Right.
So my review, and DEP has been out by virtue of their agent, the Montgomery County Conservation District, and found that all of those systems were functioning properly. I was unaware that there was some flooding in the parking lot that certainly could have been due to a clogged inlet or some kind of maintenance issue that is more obligation of the property owner today than it was of the NPDES permit. But no reason to hold the money from the permit perspective. But I'm happy to go out and take a look and investigate why perhaps that rear parking lot had flooded. I don't know that has happened in prior storms, so it's worth a look. Sure, Chuck.
So, should we hold this until we get a clear answer on why this occurred?
Well, the money is being held to assure the proper closeout of that NPDES permit. So if there's a property maintenance issue, we don't have the right to hold escrow money on a property maintenance issue at this time. But, that's certainly up to you guys.
So I guess what I'm hearing is that because they've met all the stipulations of the permit, we have to release the money. However, if there's maintenance issues on the property, we should review those.
Well,
is that?
Well, we don't know if it was a maintenance problem.
I'm with you on that, but they met.
They did meet, yeah.
They met the criteria, and that's why we're holding it. So
I understand that, but if it occurs again, then.
What recourse do we have? That's the better question.
Yeah.
What is our recourse on that? If they fail to meet it, it is a flooding issue, there is a defect. Can you answer that, Tim?
Sure. If, that property has been in existence for quite some time now. I have not been aware of any prior flooding problems during some pretty severe events. So my assumption is that there is some debris blockage in a storm pipe or in an inlet that would have caused that flooding. I don't suspect it is a problem with their detention basins or their infrastructure other than a maintenance issue. But, Chuck, I think it is appropriate if there is some concern. I'm happy to go out and do an investigation, see what I can see. And at that point, make a recommendation to the property owner. It's in their own best interest to ensure their property isn't flooding. I mean, they've got employees and visitors who could be adversely impacted by, on improperly draining parking lots. So it's worth a look for sure.
Do you have an idea when this happened?
It was in the summer.
It was during that major flood we had.
Yeah,
right, so I guess
on Philmont.
There's another question here as to whether or not the scale of the storm that happened that caused this, if the system is designed for that, or if we're actually dealing with a floodplain issue.
Well, no, the basin failed. It overflowed, okay, which flooded that back parking lot, the entrance to.
And Tim, is it possible for basins to overflow if the storm exceeds what they are designed for?
Yes.
So I think what we're saying is that we can go check out the property.
So there's two issues. The first is if the board doesn't feel comfortable with releasing the $500,000 based on what we're learning now that it didn't perform, whether it was the design issue or that it was a larger storm that it wasn't designed for. Or if we're questioning that we don't think that the audit was performed and that what they said they were supposed to do didn't get done, then we should hold the money back until we investigate that. If all the requirements have been met and we're satisfied that the requirements have been met, but there's another issue, then that's something different.
But I think it's the latter. Right? Tim, the $10,000 and the closeout of their NPDES permit had to do with like spreading seed.
Yeah, certainly when we do and the conservation does its inspection, they're looking for the proper function of the stormwater infrastructure, the best management practice basins that are out there. And if they are draining, if the vegetation hasn't been established, if cover is, the grass cover is on the entire property, those are the kind of things they're looking for. Yeah, and I'm curious to take a look. This is the first I'm hearing that there was a flooding problem at that site, and I'm happy to investigate, why that occurred and make sure that we take precautions to give ourselves the best chance it doesn't happen again.
Part of those NPDES permits require a certain amount of maintenance, so that would be included in your plan.
Yep, that's also true, Dennis. Certainly the applicant and developer entered into a stormwater operations and maintenance agreement. And the township has the right to enforce that agreement. And if they have failed to maintain something properly, we can enforce under the terms of that agreement.
Is that enforcement exists outside of that's like this particular?
Yes. Yeah, that operations and maintenance agreement lives on once the permit is closed out and the escrow is.
Correct. That lives in perpetuity.
They're recorded against the property, so they do last forever.
So Tim, is this something that we can investigate and resolve in the next 2 weeks before the February meeting?
It is.
So do you want to table it until February?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to table the Westrum refund release, the final escrow release, until we have Tim go out and look at it and discuss it in February.
Chuck, are you aware, you are familiar with what you saw? Would you be able to meet me and kind of point me in the right direction?
Yeah, give me a time and a date, I'll be out there.
I'll give you a buzz.
So I don't think we need to make a motion.
Don't need to make a motion.
We just won't.
Just hold it, table it.
We'll just hold it.
Okay.
What's the direction then?
We're just open.
Just.
Chuck, which parking lot is it? Is it on the Red Line Road side?
Red Line Road side.
Because I'm there very often. I'll be there tomorrow.
I know. Chuck, man.
Now, I'm gonna go meet Tim out there. I'll show him where it was.
That's my line of business.
Just deny the motion.
Yeah, if the intention is to potentially table it, I would ask for a vote.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to table, I'll make a motion to continue to hold the $10,000 in escrow until Engineer Woodrow can investigate the concerns that Commissioner McD has raised. And then once we get that answer, then we can vote.
Is there a second?
Second. And before you vote, we have a public comment.
Okay. We'll take that comment.
This is Joe Pace, 426 Pepper Road. So, the developer who paid the escrow is not the existing owner of the building. So the developer who met all the requirements should get their money back. The person who owns the building is responsible for maintenance. So we have developers that are scared to come to Lower Moreland and develop in our township because of the whole bully effect, by some members of the board. So the fact that you're holding a developer's money when he met the obligations of his permit is not right. So holding a developer's money who they checked all the boxes, as Tim said, they're due their money. So it's my opinion that you should give them their money and go figure out if there's a maintenance problem and bring it to the new owner of the building, not the original developer. There's people that don't want to do business here because of the bully effect, right? So this is a topic that's heavy because we have the LERTA program. Who wants to come bill when you're holding $10,000 of someone's money when they checked all the boxes? So to me, it's a poor decision if you guys hold their money. And that's my opinion and my comment.
Thank you for your comment. We're looking at, just to let you know, it's gonna be 2 weeks. So I think it's worth taking a look at. I really do. I appreciate the comment, Mr. McDade. The motion's been moved and seconded as described. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Continue, Commissioner Real.
The last item on the agenda is just an announcement that the planning commission members, Brian Lowe's for Ward 5 and Marshall Cohen for Ward 6 are set to expire February 25th of 2026. And as of January 14th, Mr. Cohen has advised that he does not wish to be reappointed for the new term. And interviews for these positions are ongoing. I don't think any decisions have been made, so it's just an announcement that those positions are up and that we'll be looking for placements for continue.
I'd just like to say that I and myself, Ruth and Commissioner Housen and Commissioner McDade, we did interview Mr. Lowe's. I'd like to encourage the rest of the board to give a call and interview, talk to Mr. Lowe's. That was for the planning commission. And I did take a look back at the tablet because there was 2 ladies from the past in Ward 6 that were interested in getting involved in the community, and asked them to send their resumes in. So I'm not sure if they sent them in or not. I'll check with Leah or Chris. But please get involved. And we did interview some other people, so please reach out to some other candidates for other positions. So I'm asking all of you to reach out to them. We did really like all the candidates. So we'd like to try to find a spot for all of them.
There were 2 for Ward 5.
Or another
For planning
James
commission.
Nolte.
McNulty.
Right, so Leah did, I think, send their resumes, so please reach out to all of them.
Yeah, that concludes my agenda.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mueller. Next, Commissioner Housen.
Okay, the first thing I'm gonna talk about is the Ramage Run and Pine Road School Basin bids. We hosted a pre-bid meeting on January 9th. Based on feedback, we moved back to January 20th. And have there been recommendations?
Yes. So I have them for you this evening.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like the strategy to delay awarding the bid from the fall, because we had only received that one bidder, played out as we had hoped. And the second phase of this was that not just for the Ramage Run Basin, but then we added the Pine Road School Basin retrofit to that as well. So the low bidder is Associated Paving. The Ramage Run side is $358,484.15. And the Pine Road Elementary School Basin modification was $161,005.
Let's get right to it. Here's your snow map.
So that brings a grand total for the 2 basins, and what we're recommending is a contract award amount for $519,489.15.
What's the savings over the previous?
Like $40,000.
This is part of our stormwater permit?
So yes, and also just as a highlight for next month, we have advertised. This is part of the pollutant reduction plan as part of the new stormwater permit. So we have an obligation to do more than a dozen projects over a 5-year period. So these will be projects 2 and 3 to retrofit basins and other infrastructure in the township to meet those pollution reduction goals. So these are kind of the last 2 major projects that are available on publicly held land. So we own the properties where the Ramage Run basins are located, and the school district owns obviously the Pine Road School Basin. So then the next round of projects will start to get a bit more creative as to access on their private property and the agreements that we'll have in place. But that overall pollutant reduction plan, we've advertised a comment period that is currently running. And then we'll have a public session as part of the board's February meeting. Any comments that we receive, then we will need to memorialize and send to DEP. So that process is happening concurrently.
Thank you. In addition, we had both a sewer meeting on the 6th and an authority meeting on the 7th.
We need
Yeah,
a
motions.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept Associated Contractors, Associated Paving, to bid for both Pine Road and Ramage Run.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded to award the bid for the Ramage Run and Pine Road School Basin Retrofit projects to Associated Paving Contract with an amount of $519,489,015. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Back to you, Commissioner Hale.
Thank you, guys.
I hope no one had any questions on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
in addition, we had 2 meetings. The sewer meeting was on January 6th, and the authority, Lower Moreland Township Authority, was on January 7th. And the following items were discussed. Generator connection for Long Lane, Howell, and Woodland still remains an open item. Is that correct, Steve?
Yes, the generator, okay.
Okay, but they're coming
Yes,
soon.
yes.
Okay. The continued construction at the Chapel Hill plant will have to wait and restart in March when we hit the spring because of the concrete pouring. The continued review of the force main from Bethers pump station to Philadelphia. Chris is going to contact Aqua and Pico to ascertain where their lines are located. Right? Okay. The next one is we received an exceedance bill for $91,000 based on a one-time event, but it looks like it will be our largest event for the year. So that should be, we should not get any others. Is it still under review by CCS?
Yes, I have not heard more from that meeting in June, so I'll follow up with it.
Is this for Q4?
No, that actually is Q1 because the PWD year is July through June. So these storms happened in July.
Oh, these are, okay, so
It's probably the
Calendar
same storm that overflowed the Basin.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to do.
July 8th, something like that. It was early, yeah.
It's early in the month. Okay, the car wash in Huntington Pike, Auto Spa Express would like a break on their sewer bill because they reuse their water, so it doesn't all go into the sewage system. And they claim that they clean the water before they dispose of it. So we're gonna do a little bit more research, ask them what they're actually looking for, and then we can make a decision on that.
We have a few examples where there is a large aqua bill where in their operations, they can show to us and meter what doesn't go into the system. And in most instances, it doesn't make sense for the authority to grant a billing reduction because we build some of that into the rates. But if your business generates, say like 90% of the water that you generate doesn't go into the system, then we have accommodated billing reductions in the past. But that it's just determining the scope of that and whether or not this would be appropriate.
according to CKS, which is now Arrow, by the way, there is a case in Warminster where they did give a 15% discount. So it's something we should look at to keep business here in Lower Moreland.
So the sewer bill is based on withdrawal, right?
It's
Based on
Use.
right, it's based on usage withdrawal, right?
Yeah.
So there's a certain amount of withdrawal. And then even though they're recycling it, I guess you have evaporation, you have what, stays on the car when you drive it out. But then even though they're recycling it, at some point it goes down the drain. And it still has to be cleaned, right? It still goes through, it's not potable water that can go right back into the system. So I guess, what I'm trying to understand is that even though they're recycling, they're withdrawing less, so they're not getting charged for what they're withdrawing because they're reusing what they already have. Is that
A distinct possibility
Yeah.
that when our engineers go out.
So at some point, even though the water gets too dirty that they can no longer use it, and then it goes down the drain and then they withdraw more, so it should be a net.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't know, I would have to understand that better, but it seems like whatever they're withdrawing, it's eventually going down the drain, less evaporation and less was on the car as it pulls out.
Well, that's one of the things we're gonna look into, but since they made the request and there is policy decisions in other townships that have granted that request, we feel we have to look into.
Is their bill really high?
That's the same
I
thing.
don't know.
Yeah, yes, I would like to see that bill, right?
So they can.
Yeah.
So they can meter, they can put a meter on withdrawal, on the flow. So they can meter that, what goes down the drain, and then you can say, this is what I took, this is what I put down the drain.
The last thing is, we're looking to purchase a pump through CoStars for $85,000. It is for Beth Ayres, but if we can't, it's a 22-week lead time. This is through CoStars, so we don't need to put a bid out. Why? You have to see these things, they are humongous.
Wow.
Yeah, they're amazing. So we'll put in the order in late 2026 for 2027 install and deliver.
There are 3 pumps at the Beth Ayres pump station, and the goal was to have all of them on a 9-year replacement schedule. So you did one last year, so that's the premise. So we have that lead time. The CoStar's price goes up several $1,000s every year. So just take advantage of the 26 pricing for something.
Well, that's been hit 27's budget rather than 26's, or is that something that you account for?
It's coming out of the capital reserve. So
Are there any questions from the board?
No.
From the public? No, and Hart did not meet this month, so that completes my agenda items.
No. Commissioner Canal.
Thank you, President Kurtz. Next up is fire police appointment. We received a letter attached requesting that Michael Mulder be appointed as a member of the fire police. Additionally, we received a list of the current fire police members and confirmed they remain in good standing. Any discussion on the board on this? Anything from the public? Chief, you want to say anything? No, I did the resumes. Good. Anything online? Nope. All right. I'll make the motion to appoint Michael Mulder as a member of the fire police.
Second. Motion's been moved and seconded to appoint Michael Mulder to the fire police. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Not hearing any opposed. Congratulations, Michael Mulder.
All right, the last 2 items on our agenda for tonight belong to me. The first is regarding zoning hearing board alternate appointment. So this is just a heads up to the board. The term of the zoning hearing board alternate, which currently is granted to Robert Hughes, is set to expire on March 19th, 2026. Yes, I thought it was Hughes. Mr. Hughes was just appointed in this role in 2025. He's actually completing a vacated term. So I'm going to reach out to him just to make sure that he's still interested in serving in this capacity. But assuming that he is, it'll be my recommendation to reappoint him in March. So we will come to that item in March when the time comes. And should he decide not to, we will look for a different alternate. Regarding the zoning hearing board summary, so first, I'll just remind everyone, there was no meeting in December, so there are no decisions from December to report. However, given the unique date of our meeting tonight, I do have the January applications that I can talk to. There was one, it was the application number 25-26. This was actually the continuation for Nicole Prestilio of 3570 Cranberry Drive. They were seeking a variance to increase lot coverage to 31%, where 25% is permitted to allow construction of an in-ground swimming pool. Following their presentation to the board, they were actually able to demonstrate that not only did they reduce from their original application, but they got the 31% down to 28.9%. As a result of that discussion, the variance was granted. That was the only application for January. Any questions about zoning hearing board? Anything from the public? And anything on Zoom? With that, that concludes my report for the evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Plant, for jumping in like that so quickly. Just for the public, just to let everyone know, we did have to call a snow emergency during this last storm. Just to let everyone know, Lee and EJ did put out that your cars need to be removed from the street. Please do so. I know it's difficult now if your cars are on the street because they are blocked in by ice. But please try to do so. It keeps our public works pile drivers safe when they're trying, and our emergency services when they're trying to make that corner, when the visibility is just horrible from ice and snow coming down, trying to plow, and when the cars are in the street, it's hazardous for them. Also, code enforcement is out pretty much with full force, and if your sidewalks are not shoveled, they are giving warnings, and it is going into a fine. I know all the other years they haven't been, but this year we're being pretty strict about it, and I have spoken to the code enforcement officer, Ted and Jill, and said, make my ward the example, and they have been doing that this year with the sidewalks, and also do that regarding the cars in the street. So Ward 6 will be the example, right, Ted?
We're checking all of those.
Yes. Thank you. Well, I said you could start with me too.
That being said, though, if you know of someone who is a senior citizen or
Yes, but we help.
unable
Yeah.
to do that themselves and they require help, please let us know.
Yes,
We
yes.
do have people that are available to.
Yes, we have been helping the elderly in our ward, and we have recommendations too for youngsters and people that can plow and shovel out. I can attest, the last meeting and this meeting, my neck and my back and my are killing me from all the shoveling that I've done to help everyone. So does anyone on our board have anything to say, any comments or anything for the greater good or to add to the meeting?
We've said a lot.
I'd like to just finalize by saying, I think it's important that we continue to put reorganization onto our agendas moving forward so that we always give ourselves a chance to speak through this. We cannot allow for tonight to just settle what is otherwise a failed reorganization. And so I hope and I expect that will be a part of our agendas moving forward, and that we will seek whatever options we have available to us to find resolution and not simply rest on where we're at.
Thank you for your comment. Our agenda items are concluded, so we're gonna open up for public comment. Again, at the end of this meeting, would anyone like to address the board that is in the room at this time? Please come up and state your name and address.
I got a big mouth. Jim Sale, 2126 Winthrop Road, it's a quick one. The township authority has a vacancy. Has that been addressed by the board yet?
Overall, no. We have posted on the website and on Facebook that we are seeking applicants for our community boards. So that is one of the ones that when the board meets with people that they know is with.
Jim, we had a few great interviews, so we're
Okay.
working on it.
All right, great, thanks.
Yeah.
People in.
Yes, very interested people. Anyone else in the room like to address the board or anything? Anyone on Zoom?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion adjourned. Motion been moved and seconded adjourned. Thank you.
Yes.
Careful.
All those in favor, say aye.